please.
With the yearling show happening in a month, the babies have a major milestone to cross today. They'll have a rider on their backs for the very first time.
Pay attention, new Bob.
John knows they scare easily, and an out-of-control 1,000-pound horse can be dangerous. Exercising them before the big moment helps calm them down. John started doing this because he, like the rest of the family, has an almost instinctive understanding of the soul of the thoroughbred.
They're bred to race, but when they're born, they have that wild instinct in them also. You know, back when they were in the wild and predators used to chase them, they had to be on their toes, and you're trying to throttle that energy into a productive athlete.
The first ride will be very short, but very risky.
I'm just taking a little precautionary measure.
You know, the first time a horse sees a person on their back, sometimes it can really rattle them.
I mean, these horses are weighing 1,100 pounds, and you can't put yourself in a dangerous position. And, you know, you got to be relaxed, but you got to be sharp. You got to know when not to get yourself in trouble. I'm a little scared.
By day's end, there's only been this one minor mishap. Coming up, a potential superstar faces a critical test. Early November, and there are just 2 weeks till the yearling show. Bonita is one of the only farms in the country with its own training track. And today, the yearlings will run on it for the first time in their lives. Well, maybe run is too strong a word. And they're off. Somewhere in here may be a Derby winner, but at the moment, it's a little tough to tell.
He's got to do it.
The good ones and the not so good begin to reveal themselves. John can spot which is which using cues, like the way they hold their heads.
The ones that are arching their necks are the ones that I think are really into it and they're enthused about doing it. The ones that are just gawking and looking around, they'd rather be back in the barn or rather be back in the field.
An exhausting day is finally over. But with 6 of the 24 yearlings still not up to par, John has a lot of work ahead of him.
I think there was a couple problems, and but that's part of it. And I think this is what you have to go through. You have to get the babies going. And some of them take to it like that, and others are a little bit more difficult. And you really appreciate the ones that catch one quickly, and then the ones you have to work with. You have to work on patience to get them going. And that's the key.
A beautiful 2-year-old filly named Christmas Shoes is Bill's greatest hope for this racing season. But she was injured in her last race. Though it was relatively minor, any problem with a star athlete can threaten its future.
Right, you show you on her front foot, really. She was very bewildered that day when she got hit, and she just didn't know what the hell happened to her, you know? The horse from behind had to grab her with his front foot, and the toe of his front shoe, the front of his shoe, just sliced that quarter.
She's getting every conceivable treatment for the leg and a small crack in her hoof.
The big thing with any injury like that is to try to get them to heal from the inside out rather than heal over. That's when you get in trouble, when they heal over on the outside.
Despite the troubles, Bill still has high hopes for his prized filly. In her final training before the race, she's looking good.
She's rebounded, she's happy, and she's eating everything. And I think we take her back up there and win another race, she's going to forget what happened. That was the first time she ever tasted dirt in her face, the first time she ever tasted pain.
Race day at Penn National outside Harrisburg. Christmas Shoes has a good post position, but there's never a sure thing in horse racing.
They're off in the Blue Mountain Futurity. Inside, Fresh Power is next. Christmas Shoes swings to the outside. Alma Mater fourth with 3 to make up as they straighten for the drive. They come to the 8th pole. Carol's Secret Visa. But here's Fresh Power inside and Christmas Shoes outside. They go right by. Fresh Power along the rail. Christmas Shoes outside. Christmas Shoes leads in a neck. Fresh Power second inside. Christmas Shoes ahead. Fresh Power trying to counter. Christmas Shoes to win the Blue Mountain Futurity.
She did it. A win at Penn National. She's back in the winner's circle.
She did everything could have been asked of her. And I think mentally she needed to get over getting beat in Maryland. You know, she needed to get over that, and I think she did it.
She's earned herself a vacation to rest up for one of the biggest events in the state for 3-year-old fillies. A race they call the Black-Eyed Susan. Next on Thoroughbred, the yearling show hits an unexpected hitch.
I guess the worst scenario is if it's still foggy about 11:30.
Sunday, November 21st. In just a few hours, guests will be arriving for Bonita's 10th annual yearling show. But if they can't see the horses, it won't be much of a show.
We've never had a problem with the fog like this. I guess the worst scenario is if it's still foggy about 11:30.
And there's already extraordinary pressure on John. If he doesn't have the rookie horses performing like potential champions, they won't attract investors for the auction later today.
The anxiety about the day is how the performance on the racetrack will go. If somebody will get thrown or if a horse will get loose and we'll look as though we haven't done a good job of breaking them. So far, knock on wood, it hadn't happened.
It takes all the Bonifaces to put on the yearling show.
We have 7 girls to bring up.
Even the youngest members of the family help out. But the weather is on everyone's mind.
The fog is terrible. I mean, I'd rather see rain than fog because they won't be able to see the horses going, and that's the whole idea, is that them see the horses galloping on the racetrack and parading. And I think what we'll end up doing is stalling and stalling and stalling and hoping that the sun will break through.
The Bonifaces lay out a spread designed to dazzle the guests. In the barn, John and his crew are up against the clock, grooming and fussing over the yearling.
I don't know we're running out of time. They have. Don't panic. You're all right. Keep breathing. Panicking. Don't panic. Stop biting.
John's wife, Kim, will be riding in the show today. She knows more than anyone how tough the last few weeks have been on her husband.
It's kind of like he comes home at night, he's a little quiet, grumpy, maybe a little withdrawn, doesn't really want to do much. But we're very excited for it to be over. Very happy it's Sunday.
But John doesn't have control over Mother Nature.
I don't know. And my prediction is it doesn't clear by 11. The last couple of weeks when we had a foggy day like this, it was afternoon before it cleared up. So I don't know what we'll do about that. Maybe we'll just parlay it for a little while and just pray.
Time is running out as the guests start arriving.
Hey, Bill. I want to know this weather. You gonna lift this fog?
Hey, we're going to lift this fog in
right.
any minute. Okay.
Bill does his best to stretch out the greetings.
You got it, program.
Billy's on the front lines, too. The generous amount of food and drink doubles as a stalling tactic. "11:30 a.m. No change in the weather, but the show must go on.
Yeah, we're gonna tack up. Riders, we're gonna tack in 4 minutes. That'll give you 10 minutes to tack.
I'm fine. How are you?
In just a moment, these yearlings will be coming up onto the racetrack. They're going to walk through the starting gate, and they'll jog from here around to the head of the stretch and gallop all the way around and back to here. And if you look on the first page of your catalog, you will see which horse is being ridden by who. The number will correspond with the saddle cloth. What we're trying to show you here is that they're educated to walk through the starting gate and know how to go head and head.
Now, 7 weeks of painstaking training comes down to 2 gallops around the track.
Ridden by Lisa Horty. Number 3 on the outside is Just for Love. Richard Ike Brooks. Not for Love out of Susquehanna Rose, ridden by Jeannie Sterling. The final 2 are number 13, Please Dance, Future Testimony. On the inside, that's the Dubile, Valley Crossing.
Heels down,
11 and
Kevin.
12, John's on the outside. Kevin's in the middle with the Trinity shot. The crowd's right on the outside.
The performance goes off flawlessly. In a few minutes, the real test of the day will begin. The yearling sale.
It worked out well. Now the next task will be taking our horses into the ring and trying to auction them off.
And I think if you never owned one before, you'll
The Bonifaces like to handle everything, even the auctioneering.
come out at any time. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have a beautiful chestnut coat. He was number 2
First up,
in the show earlier.
Charlie Irish.
He's by the 5,000, Hello, this filly. We need somebody to give me 5. Who to give me 5,000? I'll start. I hope you admit a 5,000. You want to be 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. I got 5. You want to be 6. You want to be 6. Fair warning, going once, going twice. So, Karen Dempsey, thank you very much for $65,000.
Next is what the family thinks might be their best yearling, Astral Ascent.
I got 10,000, now it will be 20. I got 10, it will be 20, now it will be 7. 7, 14, now 15. I got 15, 15. I'm going to be 17, going to be 17, going to be 17. Just a different code in church, well, he's got to look. Don't let him scare you away, you come the wrong way. 19. So let's say for 31,000.
One by one, the other yearlings take center stage.
Second phone was just random. 7, 8, 9, kid.
In the end, it's an outstanding day.
Thank you all for coming. No, I think the day was perfect. We could have had the fog lifted where the people could have had the panoramic view of the whole property, and but you can't do anything about the weather.
Here he is. Hi, sweetie.
You know, the big thing is, you know, after the auction itself and the new owners come over and they see their horses, and it's kind of neat that way. They're all excited. It's like somebody getting a dog for the first time. And, you know, this is a much larger scale.
They look like we'll all be millionaires.
And they're buying into our dreams and hopefully become our dreams together.
For John, 7 grueling weeks have paid off, or so it would seem. Next, hidden issues erupt.
Go on and on. Now you're going to have to listen to me. Into 1999, paying it.
The Boniface monthly family meeting. It emerges that beneath the apparent success, trouble is brewing with John.
I have to stop discussing mine.
Go ahead.
You know how I feel. I've told everybody how I feel.
You'd rather break your own throughout the year and not have it.
And sell them third week in June and take them all through the $70,000.
The stress of breaking so many horses in such a short period of time has taken a toll on John.
$1,000 a year. So what in the world are you talking about?
Well, it's
Burned out, he presents a new plan. Break fewer horses at several different times throughout the year.
for our horse because they want to own all their horse.
Yeah,
And
they have enough money, they want to own all
I
of them.
totally disagree with the...
It would mean the end of the yearling show, a family tradition unique to Bonita. There's no lack of opinions about this or any other matter.
I'm not saying it's
everybody.
anybody. We
sat-
all sat here and
If you say
decided
one
to take
more
the horses.
time, I think your father's going to break down.
I'm not finished talking, Kevin. I've listened to you, and you go on and on. Now you're going to have to listen to me. I told you I didn't want to bring this subject up here today. This is just a make-up meeting, but you've insisted on it.
But John has had enough.
Now,
I'm not going to be in charge of it next year.
Well, John, what you need
That's
to do...
all I need to do is say that, and that's a done deal.
The family decides to give John time to think, hoping he'll reconsider.
John, we understand your point, and now that you said it outright, we'll let us mull on it a little bit.
A few weeks later, an early winter storm socks Bonita in. The brothers, who all live on the farm, decide to get together for some well-earned fun. Their differences forgotten. The Boniface boys are still family.
Sorry.
She's all wet. Hey, Dad.
The wet head.
Dad.
And Bonita's thoroughbreds also take a moment to enjoy a winter's day. But soon, they'll be doing what they and the Bonifaces love best, racing for the finish line. Next time on Thoroughbred, a Bonita colt emerges as a Triple Crown hopeful. And Billy helps bring the New Year's new arrivals into the world. At Bonita Farm, the harsh winter is making it even tougher than usual to care for more than 150 thoroughbred racehorses. Trainer Bill Boniface and his son Kevin are intent on getting their Triple Crown contender in top condition before his first race. And Billy welcomes new life on the farm. What could be a new generation of champions.
That's what everybody's dream is when they have a foal hit the ground. They look at it and you say, could that be the one?
February morning at Bonita Farm, home to some of Maryland's finest thoroughbred racehorses. It's been snowing for 8 hours, but Billy Boniface still needs to get 40 pregnant mares outside. Like all thoroughbreds, they depend on exercise every day.
What are you doing, Wild-Eye? Huh?
These mares are carrying the farm's hopes and dreams for the
She
future.
doesn't have much in the bag, so she's
Billy
okay.
gives each one the once-over before she goes out.
She's mad. Put her back in.
All of Bonita's foals are born between February and May, so every year Billy has 4 months when he gets few breaks and little sleep.
February 21st. Don't get to see my family much this time of year, but my wife and my children understand that, and I make up for it when summertime rolls around.
Adam is coming right away this morning, Barb.
Billy's wife, Barbara, is a vital part of the operation.
Barbara is my right-hand man. Kill me for saying it that way, but I couldn't do what I do without her. Most time people can't work together and live together too, but we've made it work because we both love what we're doing.
I don't see my husband too much except at work. You just learn how to give and take.
Close to $2 million now.
been a little mare.
A horse's pregnancy usually lasts 11 months, but Billy thinks this year's heavy snowfall is making most of his mares overdue.
I think Mother Nature is just telling them, you know, it's time to wait longer and wait until the weather's better so that the foal has an opportunity to survive when it is born.
And when that happens, you usually have much bigger foals. And so you have complications with that, and that kind of scares you.
Billy's keeping an especially close eye on a mare named Proud Greta. She's 6 weeks past her due date. It's almost unheard of.
Good girl, good girl.
It really concerns me that she has not foaled yet. I had her examined the other day just to make sure she was still pregnant. I haven't had one of these for a long while.
Greta's long pregnancy is a mystery. So Billy's asked the vet, Dr. Jacobson, to do an ultrasound, which might give them some clues.
That's the foal's nose in the mouth. If you use a lot of imagination here, you can see you see the tip of the nose, tip of the mouth, and then it drops on back towards the ears to the left. Kid's not ready. He hasn't started knocking on the door.
So there's still, this far out, an opportunity for that foal to develop properly and be born normal.
I don't know.
Billy is faced with a serious dilemma. Inducing labor is dangerous for horses, and there would be a high risk of losing Greta or her foal.
I've never had anything like this, and it's very frustrating because none of the veterinarians really know what they're dealing with, and none of them want to make a decision and tell me, well, Bill, we need to do this, we need to do that. Are you looking for all the ultrasound thickness of it?
Billy and Dr. Jacobson decide that, for now, the best thing to do is to wait another few days and hope nature takes its course. This winter, the snow just keeps on coming. The horses don't seem to mind, but it's tough on the humans. After only a couple of hours in the 20-degree temperature, the horses need to be brought back in. But a young filly has other ideas. John Boniface sets out to round up the troublemaker. She's not giving in so easily.
There's nothing we can do, John. Okay?
Billy shows up to help, then Barbara. But this filly isn't going in without a fight.
You're not in there, Mommy. You're not in there.
After 45 minutes, the game is getting old.
What are you doing?
This filly is different. She's got a little character, but it's a little bit too much character for me. I'm just trying to give her food and get her out of the weather. All it does is give everybody a heartache. Nobody wants to be around her. Yeah, that gate all the way up. You gotta just take it.
If you go to
John finally outsmarts her by using a horse's instinct to follow the herd.
She doesn't even forward motion, Barbara.
She naturally falls in line behind the other horse, who leads her into the barn. Next on Thoroughbred, a Triple Crown hopeful is tested. The exceptionally cold winter is causing other problems at Bonita Farm. The training track is frozen solid. This is bad news for Bill Boniface, the farm's owner and trainer. If the horses can't exercise, they won't be in top shape when racing season heats up in about 2 months.
We gauge the winter by how many days we're forced to gallop inside. In other words, the ground is too frozen outside. And this was disastrous in that regard. We were inside probably a little over 4 weeks. Last year and the year before, we might have been inside 4 days.
Who needs one?
Bill's son, Kevin, who's the assistant trainer, is forced to gallop the horses inside the barn on a narrow track that runs around the outside of the stalls. Kevin and his father are especially eager to get a 3-year-old colt in peak condition. Forging is a young horse with a lot of power and huge potential.
Well, this is the horse Forging I've been talking to you about. He's a big, strong colt, as you can see. He's been stuck inside too long. Can't get enough out of his gallops on the indoor track.
Forging is not just another racehorse. Bill has entered him as a contender to run in the Triple Crown races, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes. Since Forging can't get the workout he needs at Bonita, Bill and Kevin take him to the nearest racetrack where constant use is keeping the ground soft. But there's another worry about Forging. He's got an attitude problem.
Now, how fast he can go, we're not really sure, because what he's done so far, he's done so easily. I want to see him a little speed. I know he's got the speed in there. He just has been dilly-dallying around and not showing it. He's just more worried about the playground than going to school.
On race day, a horse's will to win is just as important as speed.
Well, you know, Forging still hasn't matured mentally very much. What I do like is that he does things easy, but he has to show me he has a little desire.
You understand what I'm saying, Dad? The last time he went 5'8", he did get tired. But I mean, I hope, you know, I just wanted to be a nice work 3 and change together, right?
Finish together and he worked. You know what I mean?
Right. Just does it.
Bill believes that if he can get Forging focused, nothing will stop him. He's big, he's fearless, and he's in the prime of his life.
A Thoroughbred is only 3 one time in his life. And the 3-year-old campaign is when you can run against straight 3-year-olds. And that's a category that they give championships for, they give Eclipse Awards for. Drop in. It's a time to strike while the iron's hot.